What's up, everybody? This is the Ike Inspirations podcast, and today I have a great guest on. I have Dorian Banks, and Dorian Banks is a mental health counselor. He's a yoga instructor, and he's a dream coach. And I'm very excited to have him on because he's very into spiritual growth and dreams, and I'm very interested in that. So, thank you, Dorian, for coming on. And can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, so first off, I want to say thank you so much for having me on. I guess I just don't realize the impact and inspiration that I have on others. But yeah, so everyone, I go by Dr. Dream. My real name is Dorian. I am many things, and I do a lot of things. Professionally, I am a clinical mental health counselor. Currently, I'm working as a school counselor in a middle school. Outside of that, my passion really lies in yoga and meditation. And I have a lot of different interests as well that's related. So love traveling, love getting out in nature, love sleeping and dreaming. And yeah, I have so many different talents and interests. But normally I like to I think I'm rambling a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm many different things. I think I say that because I'm now at this point in my life where I'm kind of getting and distancing myself from labels, because I think mentally it keeps me in a box. So I'm all of those things, but I'm so much more.
Understood. Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned that, you never know who you're inspiring, and it's the same way with me. I create this podcast, and oftentimes it's kind of hard to tell who's watching or who's not watching, and you'll be amazed the type of people who will reach out to you or or find interest in what you're doing because it feels really random. Uh, but yeah, man, talking about dreams, man, I would love to talk to you about what's the most fascinating dream you had in your life, and what was it about?
Oh my God. So I've had many amazing dreams. Let me see. I think it's hard to pick one because they're so different. I've had some phenomenal dreams, but I think in general, whenever I have dreams that are very vivid, meaning like just the colors that I see in those dreams. Sometimes I dream about colors that I've never seen in waking life. And to me, that's always fascinating because I'm like, oh my God, never, like this color was just so vibrant. I've never seen it in real life. So, whenever I have dreams that are like just super vivid, super crisp, very lucid, like those are always the best dreams.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And how do you like cultivate the dreams that you have, or like, are you able to cultivate dreams that of your own, or dreams that you want? Like, or is it just kind of like something that just comes naturally?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, a dream just kind of came to me. That was a dream that was really special and really amazing.
Okay.
So I actually dreamt about the future.
Okay.
And that was something that happened like, I don't know, maybe about 8 months ago. Um, and it was astonishing because like I could see the buildings, I could see the different tech that it was involved, and I just felt like I was in a different time period. And so that was a dream that was like extremely fascinating, and it still sticks with me to this day. But in terms of like being able to cultivate dreams, or if it just happens, a little bit of both, right? Mainly for myself, I like to just allow my dreams to come. So I'm not necessarily trying to create any kind of dreamscape. I just like to let them come, because normally what happens is that I allow my dreams to speak to me and guide me. And so I feel like if I just allow them to come, they come at the right time and they're there for a purpose. But there are times where I do like to cultivate dreams. Like if I want to dream about something specific, for instance, if I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I want to hang out at the beach, or I want to be in a forest. I haven't gotten the opportunity to get out in nature. So let me just be in nature in my dreams. And so I will practice some kind of visualization technique right before I enter the dream state. And usually, not all the time, but the more advanced I become at doing that, the better the better it gets. But uh yeah, I'll practice a visualization technique, and normally I can enter into some kind of dream reality based upon the visualization that I induce. So yeah, it's a combination of allowing the dreams to come and then cultivating them myself.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I often dream too, and for me, I know whenever I dream, I started the habit of journaling everything I dream about just to improve that dream recall, but also to just remember some of the dreams because sometimes like you might have a dream a couple months ago and then it comes up in your life and you're like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, and it's kind of weird. Like I don't know, man. And I don't know if you had those moments some people will call it synchronicity, some people will call it God speaking to you. There's really different ways to call that type of term, but could you relate to that moment, and if so, can you speak on that?
Yeah, I like to call whenever I dream of something and it comes like it comes true, like it manifests itself into waking reality, right? I like to call those or label those dreams as like prophetic dreams because they are dreams that are showing you something in the future. And so I have had not a lot of prophetic dreams, but I have had some prophetic dreams.
Mhm.
um, some of those dreams, I'm like, oh my God, I hope that is
It doesn't
to
happen.
come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they come. Um, Usually, I feel like they're not as mundane. Meaning, like, oh, I dreamt that next week I'm going to go to like a park,
Yeah.
or like I'm going to meet somebody. I think they're more so like on a larger scale,
Sure.
meaning like, the dream that I had about the future, or um another dream I had about like just a crazy time that was happening in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, they come, and you mentioned journaling, and I think that's definitely a big part of somebody's like dream life, is to definitely jot down those dreams, because when they do happen, I had a coworker who also has dreams. But when they come, you want to have proof that, like, look, I wrote this down and this came. So not only are you able to, you know, talk yourself out of feeling insane that
Mhm.
happens,
Yeah.
but also you can like, it's kind of proof to show other people that, hey, look, I dreamt about this. This is the date that I dreamt about, and look, this happened. So,
Yep.
that's a excellent practice
Yeah, yeah.
to start.
Yeah, no, the dream journal is like literally written proof that what you're doing, it's written proof for yourself, but if you ever need, I guess, external validation, that's where you can have it too. I'm curious because, like, you're a man yourself, and I feel like sometimes dreaming can be considered like more of like a feminine thing, or some people might judge you for having dreams, for whatever reason. I get it. Or sometimes like you might speak of a dream or have a dream and you kind of feel weird, like what the hell is this supposed to mean, or am I crazy for having this? I feel like this is a feeling that some people might have. At least sometimes I do. And I'm curious, like, do you ever feel like weird about the dreams you have, or kind of like I don't know, like you don't want to disclose them. Like I'm just curious, what's your relationship with your dreams? Do you keep them private, public? You share them? What you know?
Yeah. So I think when it comes to the act of dreaming, right? I don't like to think of it as like a masculine or feminine activity.
Sure.
Like assigning it to a certain kind of, I don't want to say gender role,
Yeah.
but assigning it to gender, because I think that it's an extension of ourselves, right? Dreaming is an extension of ourselves. I do understand what you mean in terms of it feeling more feminine because it did. I think that the feminine aspects of human are more so tied to things like emotions and feelings and stuff like that, and things that are subtler. And so dreaming and dreams do kind of fall into that category of that subtler essence of ourselves. So I can understand what you mean there, but I don't think I look at it as such. Maybe because I'm a person that does like to honor and express both my masculine and feminine self.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's just my perspective and why I feel that way. But in terms of like feeling weird about my dreams and maybe just being open about it. I think when I like years ago, maybe about 7 years ago, when I realized that my dreams are kind of like my best friend and also like another part of me. I think when I just started to embrace that, all of that fear and that uncertainty and uncomfortability about speaking the dream, that uncomfortability about speaking and expressing my dreams just kind of fell away. And so much so that I now feel that it's kind of like my duty to make dream culture something that's mainstream, right? Whereas, for instance, if I'm walking into work and I have like this bizarre dream, and, my coworkers are gathered around, I feel like I should be able to say like, oh my God, I had this weird dream, you all. Like, let me tell you all about this. And sometimes, and I've had done that, and, sometimes it can feel weird. Our reactions is amazing because you might share and then somebody else might be eager to share like, oh my God, well, I had this dream a week ago, and so it's like it feels like this thing that's on the surface of everybody's just like right underneath the surface where people want to talk about it, they want to express it, but because nobody takes that initiative to do so, it just doesn't happen. So I no longer feel weird about being a dreamer.
Yeah.
And it's fully embraced now.
And that's great, man. I mean, what the weird thing about dreams is like, I think there's studies that show that literally everybody dreams. But if everybody dreams, why is it not a mainstream culture thing? That's the thing that's kind of weird to me. I feel like obviously a lot of us don't remember our dreams. And like the reason why I brought up that whole masculine and feminine thing, like I agree with you. I think the nature of dreams they just speak to who you are. But in my experience, when I speak to when the subject of dreams come up versus with men, it's kind of like, nigga, what the hell are you talking about? Versus women are so much more engaged. Oh, what do you think this means? Why? Oh, like they don't judge you. They're engaged in the dream and like they're a lot more active in it. Whereas with a guy, it's kind of like, I don't really. I don't know. It's kind of like just like a weirdness too. At least maybe it's just me. Maybe other people can't talk to dreams, but it's that's my experience. So that's why I brought it up. But it's just weird to me because I feel like everybody dreams, but it's not really like a mainstream culture, like where you just go up and be like, "Hey, what did you dream about today?" Or, "Oh, that would be cool if that was a world. There was a world like that,
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that people will be more connected on not on something beyond a physical level because we're sharing that information, and I think that it is like just information that's flowing through our psyche. And since I'm a person that believes that we're all connected, sharing that energy, sharing that information just kind of further moves that energy amongst us. And, there was something that was very important that you spoke about that I do want to speak about because I
sure
it's extremely important is that, you were saying like, why is it that, we don't speak about it? And I think that just globally, like there in certain cultures and societies, they value, dream culture on different levels. And I think that in a lot of developed countries where it's fast paced, right, where we have to grind, nobody has time to really wake up and just sit and recall dreams because like you said, like everybody do dream. but it's just that they're not recalling it. As a matter of fact, I used to ask my friends like, "Oh, what did you dream?" They're like, "Oh, I don't dream. I haven't had a dream in years."
Yeah.
And maybe 20 minutes later, after they've gone about doing something, they're like, "Oh my God, I just remembered that I did dream." Like, wow, so we all do dream. It's just the recall that's not necessarily initiating or firing when it should. But I think that, in certain cultures and societies where they're not necessarily about the grind and are more so connected, I think that there is the emphasis on dream reality and dream recall and dream culture is a little bit more prominent. So I would love for us to get to, or all society, all globally, get to a point where dreams are more so integrated in, as I said, more so mainstream.
And back in the day, indigenous cultures had we seem to respect dreams a lot more. And I'm just curious, in your lifetime, or just in general, maybe in a local community or maybe in a different country, have you been to other cultures where you feel like dreams are more valued? Have you had experiences with that?
Yeah, so I love to travel. I love to, observe different lifestyles and different cultures. I haven't had any direct contact with a culture or society that where we spoke about it.
Yeah.
But in terms of like knowing that there are certain cultures that value dreams, I know that for sure. For instance, like the Native American. So I live here in the United States, and the history of the United States, the Native indigenous people that were here. From my own research and study, I know that they valued their dreams, right? And that was something that was kind of just at the forefront of their, I guess, daily life, more so to speak. They also thought dreams were very sacred. So I, just like, as you mentioned before, I know that there are societies that value them, but I haven't gotten into the space. Well, I've been in the space, but it just hasn't come up just as yet. Yeah.
No, I feel you. No, I feel you. Yeah, it's just something I've been always curious about because just like you, I kind of wish it was more for a spoken about topic, man. Dorian, I'm just curious. Where do you think dreams come from, man? What do you think that's about?
If I had to guess, right, like on a more so science. If I had to guess based upon what I know about dreams and my own experiences, I think that dreams are a expression of the soul. Right? I think it's an extension of the soul, and I think that there's many aspects of ourselves, and I think the soul is one aspect of ourselves. And so whenever the soul is trying to speak to us, I think it kind of comes up in dreams, or whenever the soul is trying to warn us or guide us, that's a way. It's kind of like the soul is sending us a message.
Yeah.
I also think that somehow, some way, right, this idea of God, of the oversoul or the super soul or the supreme, also deliver somehow, some way, I'm not sure. I'm still trying to
understand
understand it, right? But I think that even the divine can send dreams or messages to our soul, and then our souls processes that and then put it into information and images that comes in the form of dreams. So it's hard to say, but that's kind of the picture that I'm developing.
No, I agree with you, man. I love what you said, dude. Dreams are an expression of the soul. I think that's well said. I also personally believe, like me personally, I believe dreams is God speaking to you. And I'm really keen on listening to God's voice. I've actually had a lot of dreams of me podcasting people, not necessarily I don't know who the people are, but just people that really resonate with me, people who resonate with my interests, which is hip hop, music, spirituality, science, pharmacy. I just got all types of interests, real estate, and I've had dreams of speaking to all types of people. And right now, I'm currently working my best to manifest those dreams each and every podcast episode. So that's one of the reasons why I feel like I'm so keen on dreams, because I feel like it's God speaking to me, and He's telling me like, "Yo, nigga, you gotta do this, bro. Like, you gotta do it." I'm like, "All right, man." Like, but I know it's kind of weird, man. But and that's why I'm talking to other people, because I want to understand myself better by speaking to other people about how they interpret what the dreams are telling them or where it's coming from. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think you're speaking to a dreamer, so I don't think it's weird. As a matter of fact, you know, so one of my historical figures that I look up to is Dr. Martin Luther King.
Oh, yeah,
With
yeah.
his "I Have a Dream" speech to that. Also, Langston Hughes, who had a number of different poems about dreams. And so with that information, I believe that dreams are kind of like this, what should I say? It's like this precursor of what's going to manifest.
Yeah.
And so when I hear you say like, oh, you had dreams about, podcasting and interviewing other people, well, I just think that's like a precursor of what's about to manifest. Similar to, Dr. Dream, when he said, I have this dream of, you know, um, society looking like this. And now I'm like, we're living in Dr. King's dreams. And so,
That's so true.
while it was a dream on like a larger global scale, which took some time for it to actually manifest, smaller dreams where, it's just affecting, I guess, a smaller part of reality might manifest a little quicker. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's weird at all.
No, I appreciate that, but it's funny that you brought up Martin Luther King, because ever since I was young, I always looked up to him too. I found his ability to speak very like engaging, and when I was 9 or 10, I'll be like, I actually have a picture of Martin Luther King to the right. I would show the laptop, but it was screwed up. But it's pretty much I would be like, yo, man, I'm gonna speak like Martin Luther King. I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna be passionate, and I'm gonna be a public speaker. And back then, I was actually really shy, skinny, and I didn't have that type of energy. But now it's manifested in podcasting where I'm speaking a lot more. I'm expressing myself and I'm being myself. And I think that's a great thing, man. And it's funny that you brought up Martin Luther King, because, yeah, he had a dream, man. And whether we know it or not, his dream is manifesting, man. We're a lot better off today as Black people than we were 50 years ago, man. We're not seeing any craziness with dogs chasing us or anything. And I'm not saying racism doesn't exist, man, but you know what I'm saying. I want to be in this time. Then at least that's what I would say. But I'm sorry. You mentioned Langston Hughes. Had had poetry about dreams, which is interesting to me. Do you mind speaking about that? Because I didn't know about that, and I might even engage with that more after this. Just what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's two particular poems that I know of, um, that mentions dreams. Like, I actually just bought his entire collection of poetry, and I'm reading through it, so I'm sure, like, if there's more, I'll probably run into it. But I'm gonna try to remember. I remember that there's a poem called "What Happens to a Dream Deferred," and so it's like, what happens to a dream deferred? And I'm upset that I'm choking because I can't remember the lyrics. But I mean, not the lyrics, but the excuse me, the poems. But I know that whenever I read it, every time that I read it, it's so like it almost like those words and that poetry is it almost kind of feel like a key to my soul, where when I read it, like something opens or something blossoms with me, and I think it energizes my soul. So yeah, if you're listening, definitely check out those poems. As a matter of, if you have time, can I pull it up? Because
no, yeah. You mentioned it, and it just caught my ear. I was like, man, that sounds interesting. Yeah, yeah. Take your time.
Um, So yeah, I found one poem. It's super short, uh, but it's so powerful. So
Okay.
it's called Dreams, right? So it says, "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly.
Mm.
Dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow." So especially that last part, like if dreams die, life is a barren field
Yeah.
in snow, right? And it's just for me, it's like because dreams are an extension of our soul, right? I think that our soul is what keeps life moving and keep going. And so if we stop dreaming, if we stop going after our dreams, like everything in life will just start to slow down and things will be barren. So
Yes.
super powerful a poem. So if you get a chance, check that one out. And then there's another one that just as powerful.
So just I'm just curious, no, because that resonated with me. And you was Langston Hughes for listeners. Langston Hughes, and is there a name of that poem or book, or so people can know where to go?
Yeah, so Langston Hughes, he's a poet. That
What?
particular poem was called Dreams. And if you just like do some kind of Google search about like his poem, you should be able to find it online or
Mhm,
find some kind of book
mhm,
about it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, no, man, I'm glad you brought that up, man. Is why me personally, I am so keen on staying on the topic of dreams because at the end of the day, I think, like you said, it's an expression of the soul, and it's about living your life to the fullest, man. I feel like every time we defer our dreams, we're deferring a piece of ourselves, which is sad to say, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be one of those old grumpy guys who's retired and looking at my life. Well, I could have done this, I could have done that. I want to look at my life and be like, I did everything I truly wanted to do. And that's why I'm so keen on that because I feel like dreams are telling us what we want. Because sometimes it's really hard to know what we want. At least I feel like that for me. And I think a lot of people are confused in this world of what it is that we want. There's so many things out there. There's social media bombarding us with, oh, you got to do this. There's 1,000 gurus. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's just telling you what to do. And I feel like sometimes so many people listen to other people but them actual selves, and I think we need more of that.
Yeah, I think you hit it right, the nail on the head. Because as I mentioned before, I am a mental health counselor, and sometimes when I'm helping people kind of get their life back on track, I ask them like, okay, what is it that you want out of life? And a lot of them, some of them don't know, right? Because of whatever traumas that they were dealing with, they didn't have a chance to develop their interest. So you're right that some people don't know what they want, and so that could be like that's a very serious thing because if you don't know what you want, like truly want, then you don't have any direction. And to add to that, you also mentioned like so when I'm doing that kind of work, I also incorporate dream therapy in my work. So a lot of times, I am asking my clients, well, okay, well, what did you dream about last night? Or have you had any interesting dreams or dreams that's kind of sticking with you? And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But sometimes when they do, they're bringing up things that's relevant to what's happening. And I'm like, okay, well, let's process that because that may be an indication about what we should need to focus on, where we need to go. So yeah, I definitely incorporate I call it dream therapy or dream coaching in my sessions, and it's very powerful.
That's cool, man. So, you're a mental health counselor, and I think you said you're helping middle school kids, right? Yeah. So I'm just curious, like, obviously you don't have to give specific problems out of privacy, but like, what do you feel are like common issues that the younger generation is suffering with or are consoling in you that you frequently hear?
Yeah, I thought outside of dream, common uh just common issues, right? Is that so one of the things that I'm noticing is that a lot of kids are experimenting with substances. They, such as vapes, right? It's so
easy, it's so convenient to get their hands on. Kids can literally vape, just turn around and vape and no one knows. So that's one of the things that kind of it was definitely concerning because some of the new research that is showing that is coming out is showing that these vape pens are extremely detrimental to just overall health. Excuse me. Um, no, last night and like it's freebie, so my body's adjusting. But so the vapes are something that's extremely detrimental, and I'm concerned because I don't know how that would have a long term effect then, in the long run mentally. And not just the vape, but the THC, the marijuana, which nowadays is produced to where it's like so much more potent than it was before. And so it's affecting kids now in a way that wasn't necessarily a thing before. And some of them, do go into like this psychosis, um, where they might develop mental health issues. So those are some of the things that that is concerning to me. Um, yeah, and
Yeah. No, I've heard. I've never vaped in my life, so I can't really speak towards it. But just like you, I've read that it has addictive traits, like it can cause addictive habits. But it's just interesting to hear that. And sometimes the question is maybe it's not even about the vaping. It's like, hey, why are they vaping all the time? Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just because it feels good. Maybe there's something deeper there. I don't know. But it's just always interesting to hear what I think the people you're constant they will be considered Gen Z, right? Or Gen Z, or I don't know if there's another Gen, whatever. Yeah, Gen Z people. Yeah, because it's just interesting to see how like different generations deal with different issues, man. And so I want to get back to the topic about the soul and our intrinsic values. We mentioned dreaming as one way to kind of get in touch with ourselves and our higher power. Or what are other ways that people can get in touch with their soul or their spirit? Yeah.
yeah, so I actually kind of want to tie that, like, see if I can match that question with your previous question about what you know speaking about kids. So you may know, based upon some kind of research or just your own experience, that when we're younger, we're like our dreams are a lot more like potent, right? And as a matter of fact, I do have a few students that they know what I do, and they have the similar experiences where like they're powerful dreamers, like powerful dreamers, meaning like they are becoming lucid every other night, and they know about um lucid dreaming, where they are aware that they're dreaming. They know about astral projection and things like that. Kids are gifted, right? And I think that um if we set up a system in a society that honors that and brings that more so into awareness, who knows what our kids will be able to do on a mental level, if that's cultivated. They're tapping into potential you know, that we just probably didn't have access to. So I do think it's important that, that's one of the reasons that I think it's important to, make this something that's mainstream. But yeah, I think your question was like, what do we do to like enhance? Well,
Yeah, no. What are other ways we can like get in touch with our soul? We touched on the topic of dreaming. I don't know if there's other things that you do for yourself to feel like you're more in touch with who you are and what you like to do. You know.
yeah. So the question is, are you asking what do I do in terms of?
Yeah, there's all types of things like there's dreaming. I know you do yoga. Like meditation. What are just are there other practices that you feel comfortable doing or speaking about that makes you feel like you're more in touch with yourself? You know.
Yeah, whatever comes to mind, or whatever comes to my heart, I like to try at least, right? So,
Okay.
uh, in addition to that, like I'm an artist, so I know that every now and then, I'll get that urge to, explore art. So I might go to like an art museum. I might decide to color or paint, or I might decide to make music, and that when that happens, it it stimulates another part of myself,
Mm-hmm.
which is connected to everything else. So like it's like everything else becomes stronger as what
Mm.
um like you mentioned before. Like I love nature, so if the Jones come right,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that that feeling comes, like I'll step out into nature.
Mm-hmm.
So with myself, like I think I'm really good with understanding what it is that I need, or what I'm desiring at a particular moment, and I just go with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can feel like, oh well, nobody's doing that, but I think I'm definitely at a space where I I'm centered enough to know that, well, okay, other people might not like that, but we're all different, and so I honor what I like and my interests, and I go with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, no, I hear that, man. It sounds like you have a lot of artistic endeavors, and as you were speaking, the thing that I was hearing from myself was just like you have your you like to paint and try other endeavors. For me, I like to podcast, and I think that's considered a way of being creative and getting in touch with yourself. And I'm just curious, man. Whenever you're doing your other artistic endeavors, whether that be painting, dreaming, or creating your own reality, do you ever have this need to feel like you need to commercialize it or profit from it? The reason why I'm saying this is, quite frankly, I have done. I don't know. I think I'm on like my 55th episode of my podcast, and I'll be honest, I'm not making any money, nor do I care to make any money. But it would be nice, Nick. It is in my bank. It's in my bank. But I'm blessed. I'm in a blessed position to make the investment to not really worry about it. But nevertheless, I'm not making any money from doing this. And I feel like a lot of people have artistic endeavors that they would like to commercialize or make money out of, but fail to do because it lacks value. Do you feel like that applies to you?
I also, in this day and age, right, where we are stepping into people becoming, how should I say, um, people are being more expressive, and they have more platforms to express themselves, whether that be podcasts or social media or whatever the case may be, where they can share themselves, share their interests, share their art, share their abilities and talents, and so on and so forth. Um, the question of monetizing that, and the idea of monetizing that to where it's providing, it's not only feeding our souls, but it's also feeding our pockets. Like that's a thing, right? That's a real thing. And it's a thing for me too, with like my socials, where I'm sharing a lot of valuable information. I get a lot of engagement, but however, sometimes like that the flow of money just doesn't reflect that same engagement. Um, but I do think that whenever I'm listening to stories of people who are now like monetizing or commercializing off of what they're doing, a lot of time it's similar to where you and I are at, right? They're like, well, I just started this because it was a passion of mine, and I wasn't sure how far it would go. But I just kept on going with it, and next thing you know, it just kind of blew up. And so I think that, as you mentioned before, right? We do it because we love it. We do it because it's just what we want to do, and I think that's the main important part, because even if we don't monetize off of it, and we never do, like it's touching, and it's making a difference in some way somehow. Whether somebody's gaining some kind of inspiration on it, or maybe it's creating a movement where more people are doing it. whatever the case may be, it does have, I think it has some kind of positive effect. But in terms of monetizing off of it, I think you just keep going and just, as long as it's coming from the heart, it's going to be valuable. And I think that eventually, who knows, right?
Yeah. Because no, I agree with you, man. I think there's so many. I don't know. I personally feel like that's the dream for a lot of people is to do something that they love to do, but also do something what they love to do while getting paid for it. So it doesn't feel like life has to be a struggle. I feel like people want to be in a state of being themselves. You know what I'm saying? But it's really hard to do that, and it's kind of weird. I don't think everyone can do. I don't think most people can do that. So I feel like I know it's a weird thing, man, because from day to day, you work a 9 to 5, you do this, you freelance. We're in an American society where we get paid for our time. You know what I'm saying? So when we're doing something like this, podcast and painting, whatever the endeavor may be, and we're not getting paid for our time, I know some people might feel discouraged or whatever, and I just, I know you spoke on it, and I wish more people. I don't know. I just wish. I don't know if there's a solution or if there's a way or if that's just the nature of the world. You know.
Yeah, it reminds me of this quote that I heard that I'm probably gonna butcher, and so I'm gonna put it in my own kind of way. But I heard something about like, before enlightenment, pay your fare. After enlightenment, pay your fare.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Idea of like, yes, we are tapping into different things, and we're reaching new levels, but at the same time, we still, like your podcast, right? Not a lot of people are blessed enough to be able to have the time to do a podcast or have the equipment or the money to put together this, but you're in a great state to do that. But we still got to pay our taxes, right? Whether we're making money or not. And so, I think it just goes back to like, if it's coming from a heart, it's great no matter what.
Yeah, no, yeah. No, I feel you. And then, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I've also heard stories of creators who were able to do something that started off as a passion. They made a lot of money, and then they feel miserable because they no longer feel like they're doing what's true to themselves. They feel like they're serving the audience and they're kind of feeding the algorithm. So I don't know. It's just it can go vice versa, man. And so, yo, I know you're also a yoga teacher, Dorian. I'm just curious. Can you speak about your experience with yoga? The reason why is because I had a friend who introduced me to it, and I was very like skeptical of it. I'm like, oh, I'm a man, this is for good, whatever. And he brought me into it, and we did the yoga thing, and I was struggling, man, because I'm very stiff. I am very stiff. I work out. I play basketball. I don't really. I'm not. And when I work from home, so I'm usually like just on a computer most of the day. I'm not really a flexible person. So when we did yoga, I was struggling. I couldn't move anything. I'm just like, I'm confused. So I was like, God damn, man. And my friend, he does it all the time. So he was like, bro, this is easy, man. Just, I don't know. I was like, God, man, I felt so stupid, man. And I'm just curious, man, like, what's your experience of yoga and why do you do it? And how did you get into yoga?
Yeah, so before I actually started practicing yoga, I was a professional dancer. So I started dancing in high school. Yeah, started dancing in high school. I was very active. I was just a very active child. So I was dancing, I was swimming, I played tennis. Just I was active. I was physically active. And so after high school, I decided that I had such a love for dance that I wanted to become a professional. So I went to college for dance, and then after college, I moved to New York City to pursue dancing as a career. Danced a little bit in New York as a professional dancer, and I started to practice yoga as like kind of like a cross training, right? There were some yoga things in yoga that helped my dancing, and so I decided to kind of take up that practice. And it wasn't until like I had this experience in yoga, like during Shavasana, where it's hard to explain that I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I want to do this because this is like changing my life. So I started to do more research about it. That's when I kind of learned about meditation and, energy work, and just kind of went down, as they say, the rabbit hole. And all of that kind of led me to where I am now. But yeah, everybody's yoga looks different, right? So for me, yoga or yogasana, what we talk about posture, for me, it's really just taking care of the body. So everybody might not want to, do stretches or hold poses, but as long as you're active in some way, both with like building muscle, getting some cardio in, and then stretching out those muscles, right? Because you have to balance the yin with the yang. I think you're on the path of yoga. And so I know that yoga is heavily female heavily dominated industry, but actually when we go back into like the origins of yoga, yoga used to be heavily practiced by men in India, right? So yeah, it wasn't. And as a matter of fact, at some point, the further back you go into history, a lot of women were excluded from yoga because, back then they didn't, women didn't have the right that they had or freedom that they had. So yeah, back in history, yoga was a male dominated practice. And so it's interesting to see how that kind of flipped.
Yeah, no, that is pretty interesting to me, because I would have never thought that to be the case. And you teach yoga too, right? You don't just do yoga, you teach it, right? So I'm curious, why do you teach yoga, and what are the benefits you get from doing yoga and teaching it?
Yeah, so I teach it because I think it's a modality. I think it's a practice that has been around for thousands of years, and the benefits of yoga are, it's evident when people practice yoga consistently, they see that, oh my God, this is great for me on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. When that's evident, it's just like, okay, I got to do it, right? I see the benefits, I got to do it. The benefit from both practicing and teaching is that I get to see the transformation in my students, like I've seen in myself, and thus furthering continuing the tradition of yoga. So, that's kind of why I teach it. And I know that I'm just kind of going back a little bit. Yeah. I know that, particularly men will say like, oh, that's for women or whatever the case may be. But look, this is it. This is the thing where if your muscles are tight, your hips, your hamstrings are tight, just stretch it out. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to maybe take a whole yoga class. Maybe just do some things on your own. But the simple fact is that your body needs something, right? You're stiff, right? You don't want, and especially for people, I think once they start to kind of mature a little bit more and they become a little more stiffer, they realize like, oh snap, like I'm only going to get stiffer as I mature. So having that range of motion is going to be good for me just for the longevity of my life. Like, so stretch it out, right? Stretch it out. Like the benefits of having a flexible spine, when you see the older folks that it's hard for them to move their neck or sit up straight, like, but the folks who have been practicing yoga for quite some time, when they get to older age, they could still bend down, they could still sit on the floor, they could still get up. Like that's the goal. Like that's the fruit of practicing yoga. So
yeah,
is what it is.
Yeah. I seen your yoga. I mean, I seen you do yoga and stretch on Instagram. I'm like, man, this guy can do all types of stretches, bro. Yeah, I couldn't do it, but I was like, man, kudos to you, man. I think that's pretty impressive that you have that ability, man. Yeah. And then, so I'm also curious, man, like, because I know you also meditate, and for me, that's something that I also incorporate in my lifestyle. It's important for me to be still and just be present. And I'm curious, what does meditation look like for you, and why do you find yourself doing it? Mhm.
Uh, so I first off want to say like I love meditating. You should. I try to do it at least every day and maybe give myself one day off. Yeah, and sometimes it's multiple times a day, just depending on what my mental energetic state is like. But on a mundane level, right? It offers me peace of mind.
Okay.
It allows me to center myself and just it allows me to center myself to where I know what's important. I know what I need to do. And I know what I need to do to get there. So just it sets me up mentally to move and operate in life.
Mm.
Because I think of meditation as like having this canvas, and sometimes life is when you go through life, there's all of these marks and images that get on your canvas, and where if you just keep your canvas, or let me say it like this, like think about a pair of glasses, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
bifocals or whatever. And when we go through life, when we go outside, all of these things are getting into our minds or on our
Mm.
glasses, right? And at the end of the day, there's so much fog and dust, debris or whatever that we can't really see clearly. And so
Mm.
meditation is like giving ourselves this moment to kind of cleanse those lenses so that now we can see the world clearer.
Mm. Mm.
And that clarity, that mental clarity, right, is extremely important for us to operate. So that's on a mundane level. But then when you go deeper into it, it has like there's just so many benefits of it. But on a mundane level, that's what I get from it.
Awesome. Yeah, you're that's interesting. Yeah, so you mentioned like essentially meditation allows you to see the world for what it is instead of what you think it is. Which I agree. That's really very powerful, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. I find myself meditating too, man, and for me, like meditation is so important for me personally because I think the it allows you to stay focused and engaged with life. That's where I find the benefits. I try my best to be present in everything I'm doing, literally everything. Like if I'm playing a video game, I want to be as present as possible. If I'm talking to Dorian Banks, there's nothing else in the world I'm thinking about. I'm focusing on him and who he is as an individual. You know what I'm saying? If I'm like I want my life to feel like a whole meditation. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I kind of just want to be present in everything I do, and so that's why meditation is so important for me. And I think a lot of people um do it to be more centered, and but I think a lot of people fail to realize that because meditation, there's so many studies that show that meditation increases your focus. It kind of goes towards other aspects of your life where you feel like you can just dial in like that same meditation focus you have, you can dial it in other things in your life. Even I found myself even in conversations being a lot more still and just present with whoever I'm speaking to. So yeah, I don't know if you can relate, but for me, that's one of the major benefits I get.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel as though like the benefits they linger, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're exercising and stretching your mind, right? That's basically for me like sometimes people think about meditation and it's hard to like visualize exactly what it is, but any kind of activity where you're manipulating the mind, whether that be you're focusing, you're concentrating, or you're relaxing and allowing the mind to expand. For me, all whatever activities that you do to allow that to happen, that's some kind of meditation. And so when you get good at knowing how to flex and expand the mind, you can apply that to anything, right? Whether
Mm-hmm.
it be sport, whether it be your job, whether it be art, whether it be whatever, you can apply that skill of stretching and expanding the mind to that, you know, in that area. So
Yeah.
the benefits are the benefits are there.
Yeah, and I know you must have a lot of experience with meditating. I'm sure you do it all, like you said, you do it nearly every day. And I'm curious for you, what does your meditation practice look like? I want more people to understand how to meditate and do what works for them. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, when I have meditation conversations with some of my friends, some people like you do it all the time, they embrace it. And then other people just overcomplicate it. They're like, yo, where do I start? What? It doesn't feel right. I'm overthinking, blah, blah, blah. Like some people just literally overcomplicate it. And I get it. I get it because it's weird. We're so used to constantly doing everything. It feels weird to do nothing. And I think that's where the problem comes. Like, you know what I'm saying? So what does your meditation practice look like? So, maybe we'll bring some clarity to those who are confused about the practice.
Yeah, so my meditation practice, it looks different. It looks different every day, or it may look different every day. It may look different from month to month. It may look different from year to year. It just depends. And I say that because I understand where people who may want to start, but they don't know like what to do. Um, because there's so many different types of meditation. And I think that if a person is so sometimes meditation can come easy to certain people, like they just get it naturally. But it might if you were to, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. Just like some people are naturally flexible, right? And you say like, okay, let me see you do a split, and they can get into that split. Some people are just naturally able to do certain meditation practices because they're just natural at it. But there are some people who like are probably stiff, and if you ask them to get into a split, well, they need to warm up, they need to stretch, they need to do all those things. And so the same thing with meditation. Some people, if you ask them to meditate, uh, it it's harder because it's just not as natural to them. And so, if a person is finding it complicated to meditate, it might be in their best interest to find a meditation coach or meditation teacher so that they can prescribe them a practice that's right for them. So I might not. There might be two people who want to meditate. I might not prescribe the same technique to each of them because guess what? Their minds are different, and so they're going to need something that so one person might need help with learning how to concentrate while another person might need help learning how to relax. I'm not going to give the same technique. And so it just depends on the type of mind that I'm working with or a person is working with. And that's going to dictate the type of technique that they need to practice. So,
Yeah. No, I love that you said that because I feel like for some people, a lot of people think that meditation has to go like one way, like there's one specific way to do it, but there's literally thousands of different ways to do it. And I agree, like the most important way is the way that works for you. Like I know for me personally, when I was meditating, one of the things that I used to struggle with was getting comfortable. Because sometimes being in I'm not really as flexible as you. I'm pretty stiff. So getting in like a meditation position and sitting still in one position can feel like stiffening for me. You know what I'm saying? So I had to find like different postures, different environments that make me feel comfortable. And I feel like I guess I would like to encourage people to be more experimentative with their process because I think that's really important. I don't know. I feel like oftentimes a lot of people expect to do it the first time and just get it right or for them. I don't think it really works like, at least it didn't work like that for me, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly right, right? Sometimes trying to fit in the cross-legged position, like you be like they could actually, it might do more. I don't want to say harm than good, but it could be working against you, right? Because you're trying to clear your mind, but all you can think about is your hips and how they hurt. Um, yeah, it's just so many different ways and techniques and processes and postures and positions to meditate in that you do want to find the ones that are best suited for your type of mind. For mind and body and energy level and spirit and things. One other thing that I'll mention is that there are people who might say like that might come from a religious background, so they have like a religious mind, and when you mention meditation to them, they're like, oh no, like that's Satan, That's faith's word, devil's word, that's evil. So, me understanding that they're mine, I'm like, okay, well, how about this? Well, let's just walk. Just walk and let's just talk about what it is that you're noticing. They might not realize that, but that's a form of meditation. And once they, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to prescribe chanting to someone who might come from a religious background because that's just not going to fit their mind. So,
Yeah. No, I love that, man. And I agree. I've heard some people, I've had that response from some Christians saying, "Oh, you meditate." But and that's a whole nother conversation in itself.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. But anyways, I had a similar experience, man. But one thing, man, that to be honest, that drew me to you is because when I'm looking for people, I'm always just feeling how I feel like I would feel like them. And as I was scrolling through you online, I saw that you posted something on Philosopher. Do you know who that thing is? The Instagram account. Do you know what Philosopher is? It's called Philosopher. You posted it once, and I don't know what the content was about, but on IG, I'm a huge fan of that account, and I don't know if you follow him or not. So I was like, oh, this guy posts his Philosopher. I have a feeling we're gonna really connect. And whether you remember or not, man, I'm curious, what philosophies do you have in life that you ascribe to that benefits you greatly?
Yeah. So with that particular account, I can't recall. It probably just posted something that resonated with me. And I was like, for sharing. As a matter of fact, I'm pulling them up.
This is the Instagram account that infuses philosophy with animations. I freaking love animations. I can talk about. I literally have an animation on the background, like as I'm speaking to you. I just love animations. But then I love philosophy too, and like it combines it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and similar here, I think that philosophy is something that's extremely important for people to adapt, because it helps us refine our mind and refine our thinking, and it helps us grow, right, on a mental level. So for me, I'm a person that's open minded, and I love to hear like different philosophies from different cultures, from different time periods, so that I can get an understanding of like how a person is thinking. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love philosophy.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. And no, me too, man. There's a lot of philosophies I ascribe to, and I'm constantly trying to just renew my mind with more of them, and so no, man, it's just it's good to learn from you, man. And I'm just curious, like my last question to you, Dorian, is you do a lot of spiritual inner work on yourself, and it seems like you're on a path of self-exploration while also helping people with their mental health. You're a mental health counselor, you're a yoga teacher, and you have all these artistic endeavors. For Dorian Banks, what do you feel like your ultimate goal in life is, or your purpose?
The ultimate goal. Well, I know I don't want to say I wouldn't. I don't want to say my ultimate goal, but I know that I have a very big goal that I'm trying to that I would like to. So I have a dream.
Okay, what is it?
A huge dream that I would like to see manifested for humanity, and I would love to be a part of making that a reality. But just this idea of world peace, idea of people having experiencing and tapping into and raising their consciousness level to where they understand that they are intimately connected to not just everyone but all things on the planet and beyond, and living in such a way that promotes peace, unity, and elevation and growth, right? So I told you that I had a dream about the future, but you know I see a society here on earth where we like if we could see the future, we would be able to say like, oh my god, humanity has become enlightened, like, or humanity has become so mentally advanced that they're almost different, like a different species, where it's like we could see like they have advanced, developed minds to where not only are they smarter and more, they have greater intellectual capacity, but they can do things with their mind that we thought was like sci-fi, so meaning like, people like humanity can now teleport, or humanity can now, they master human flight, or like, telepathy and, telekinesis, and all these things are, which are, if you do some digging, have in the past, there's some speculation that has been happening, that it's currently happening, like people are developing, certain mental abilities, but definitely in the future where it's like a common thing that humans have these superhuman, abilities because they've cultivated their mind to be able to do such. That's my dream. And that's what I would love to usher in for humanity. And not just being able to do certain things, but really that world peace portion where humanity is just thriving.
Yeah, man. No, I think that's a beautiful goal. Yeah, man, I think world peace will be, that's definitely that would be a goal I would love to see manifested. I don't know if it will ever be possible, man. But it's a great goal, nevertheless. And there's a quote. Whenever I think about peace, it's probably my favorite quote. But it says, the quote is, "Happiness is peace in motion. Peace is happiness at rest." And I think about that all the time, man. And yeah, it's a great thing, man. I love that quote. And I love your answer. And it was a pleasure speaking with you. And I'm thankful for your time. I'm thankful for the experiences you showed, and I enjoyed the conversation. And man, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to say to the audience, but for people who would like to reach out to you, learn more about you, how can people do that?
Yeah, so first off, Ike, thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure. Again, I did not know I'm always just surprised about who I'm touching and who I'm empowering. So thank you so much for bringing me on your platform and, sharing my experiences. If anybody is interested in getting in contact with me, whether it be dreams, meditation, metaphysics, whatever, you can reach me several different ways. So on both Instagram, TikTok, and many of my older socials, you can find me at Dr. Dream 313. So that's Dr. Dream 313. Also, you can email me at DorianDream313 @gmail. And so those are like and then I also have a couple websites, but you could go onto my website, dreamyoga.org. And so those are some of the main ways to get in contact with me.
Awesome, man. Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you, man. And y'all heard it from him. If you want to learn more about dreams, meditation, or mental health, you have his socials. And once again, thank you, Dorian, for your time. And you have a great one.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right, boss.